You aren't born to repeat the cycles and patterns of abusive behavior that broke you and wounded you. You are here to heal what generations before you were too afraid, too wounded, or too unaware to face themselves. And maybe that's why you've always felt differently. My name is Ed Hegan. I'm a retired New York City firefighter and a mindfulness, meditation, and breathwork guide. And if you've always felt like the outsider in your family, the truth teller, the black sheep, or the one who didn't quite fit into the mold, you're not broken. That's actually your gift. You are the breaker of cycles, and it is holy work. So consider it a calling, my friend, whether you wanted it or not. Here you are. And this is the life that you've been given. This is the role and the assignment. So when we talk about life purpose, sometimes it's not always based on what society and external expectations want from us. But sometimes we have to recognize that our life purpose and meaning is something that is a calling that comes from within. And let's connect to that divinity and that source within us by sharing a few deep breaths. And as we inhale slowly through the nose, we can say, I honor my breath. Hold, saying, I break the cycle. And exhale, saying, I choose authenticity. Again, I honor myself. I will break the unhealthy cycles. I will live in authenticity. Last one. I choose to honor my authentic self. I will break the unhealthy patterns. I choose authenticity. And just feel that rooted feeling of connection with your body, rooted in the earth, safe, strong, and supported as we drop into this meditation. And the key points about recognizing some of the intergenerational trauma and pain and wounds that we've inherited from our ancestors, we can slow down and just try to gain some awareness about how these things happen. You see, these dysfunctions are often passed down in silence or shame as, well, that's just the way it is. That's just how things are. But you know in your heart that's not the way that it is, and that there is a better way, and we can do better. And we inherit these beliefs, these behaviors, these burdens, and we inherit these emotional patterns and reactions based upon the things that we inherit that are carried through generation, and can be stored in our bodies. And oftentimes, when we recognize those cycles, we can see it as seeking approval from those people that are still living stuck in that dysfunction. And in that way, if we are seeking approval from people that were born into and have been living in dysfunction, we inherit that dysfunction and it will keep us stuck. So simply practicing awareness around some of those dysfunctions can be really helpful. And if you have ever been called too sensitive or too much or not enough when you speak your truth, this is a good indication that some of the things that you're saying or doing, or even just the energy of how you carry yourself and your being, can be perceived as a threat to some people because it threatens these deeply established patterns of behavior. And people fear that change. It can often threaten their very sense of existence. And so being the black sheep in your family often means that you're the one that has the greater insights because you're willing to confront the patterns that you know are unhealthy. And I'll just give you like an example. So I come from the descendants of Irish immigrants who many, many years ago were being systematically starved by the British government. The food that was grown on their land that they owned was being harvested and sent to other places for profit, while the people of Ireland were considered pestilence and were being starved intentionally. And so many people during the potato blight, they died of starvation. They were so ashamed, the men especially were so ashamed of not being able to feed their family, provide for their family, that they literally checked out. They just crawled into a bottle, which is where a lot of the alcoholism from the Irish people, or the kind of stereotype of Irish people being drunks and drinking a lot, it really stems from this deep, deep pain and shame of feeling inadequate, impotent, and having their power stripped from them by government. And so imagine when these people would go to face their child or their wife or their loved one, and they were a grown man, but they couldn't feed them. They couldn't nourish their own children. They couldn't prevent the people that they loved from starving to death. Imagine the shame and the guilt, and that they just couldn't even face it. That many of them did just crawl into a bottle and die. And many immigrated away from their homeland to try to find a better life, which is why a lot of the Irish came to America. And I remember growing up and the Irish people in my family being very stoic and very cold and very emotionless. And I often wondered why I wasn't given any affection, why I wasn't hugged or kissed, or why I wasn't held or cared for in the way that I felt I wanted to naturally be held and loved and offered affection by the people that were my family. And I realized that these people were still carrying this trauma throughout generations of shame and guilt and shutting down their emotions to stop the pain from flooding their system. When we recognize these stories are carried by every different culture, every religion, every group of people to some extent, we realize that as generations go on, we still carry some of these trauma in our flesh, in our bones, in our bodies. And although it's not our fault, it is our responsibility to fix it. So the role of that black sheep, that role of the cycle breaker, is that you're not cursed by being different. It means you're chosen. You are the one that is to bring a new way of being. And the scapegoat of the black sheep often carries with them the emotional weight that no one else is going to name. No one else is going to point it out because it's too painful for them to name the burden that everyone is carrying, because most people are confused and really don't know what to do with it. So your discomfort is this sacred feeling. It is the friction that drives us towards transformation. It is the catalyst for change that we need to push us out of our comfort zone and have us dare to evolve and change and find a better way of relating to ourselves and each other. And so in that way, your authenticity, it threatens those who suppress theirs. So most people will wear masks and carry around this kind of avatar and this persona of what they think they need to act like in order to fit in. And when you see those masks and that phoniness, and it kind of throws you off, or it seems exhausting to participate in a social dynamic where you feel like you have to forfeit your authenticity to fit in, it can be exhausting. And so when you're able to live in your authenticity and your truth in a way that most people don't feel they're allowed to, most people have hidden and feel ashamed or want to hide the truth of who they are because that's what they've been taught. They've been taught to contort themselves or mold themselves into a version that is acceptable by others. You start to realize there's a tremendous amount of energy that people put into being accepted. But you weren't born to fit in. You were born to be different. You were born to free yourself from these patterns. And so this requires the need to release the need for approval. We cannot continue to honor this divine authenticity within us if we are constantly seeking the approval of others. And I want to talk to you a little bit about embracing these gifts as well. Because if we think about each one of us, and look, I'm not trying to call you a special little snowflake, but in some ways, we are all different. And in that way, we are all unique. Whether you want to call it special or not is up to you. But if you see like your fingerprint or the stamp design of your iris, if you know that each individual truly is different on every level, we are slightly different and we're also exactly the same. But the slight and subtle differences within us are divinity. Meaning it's the very thing that makes us slightly different than other things. It is divine. It is by nature divine. By definition, it is divine. So when you start to see this authenticity and this truth and this unique way of being as a divine gift, you may start to see that to bring this gift into the world and share it with other people is not only your birthright, but it's actually part of your mission and part of your purpose here on life, here on this earth, here in this body, in this flesh suit, in this human form. Part of your purpose is to bring your divinity, your unique and divine nature to this world. And because when you think about our species, yes, it took groups of people getting together to listen and do what they're told and form together to accomplish objectives like hunting and building and developing things as a group. It took that organization, but it also requires unique, innovative, authentic ways of thinking outside of the box as an essential component of driving our evolution forward. Because we simply cannot solve the problems that we have in the same ways that we created them. It will require innovative, new, different, and unique solutions. And that will only come from people that are willing to risk it all, think outside the box, and become this authentic version of themselves. So you weren't born to fit in. You were born to explore your uniqueness. And so if you do recognize that it is a divine gift to share this uniqueness, in some ways it's a sin not to. I want to ask you a question. What is the price we pay if we don't share this gift with the world? Is there someone else out there that would recognize you expressing the uniqueness of who you are and be inspired and dare to express themselves? Can you give permission and encourage others to address their core wounds by addressing yours and then sharing that vulnerability, being brave enough to share that experience with others and invite them and give them permission to take a deep look into their own soul and see how they can bring their divinity and their authenticity to this world and this life experience? And so if we really want to release the need for approval, we have to recognize that the approval that we seek is often conditional, and it's tied to compliance, not truth. So oftentimes, when we are seeking approval and validation from others, we must do what they require us to do. When they say jump, we say how high. But when we just forfeit our ability to think for ourselves and do what other people tell us, we're not really honoring the truth. So it's okay to recognize that, first of all, you don't need to comply. And second of all, you don't need to derive a sense of approval from anything external. So validation from someone else that's wounded is not a measure of your worth. If you're seeking validation and approval from someone who is dysfunctional, if you receive that validation, that is not going to improve your worth because you're only deriving it from someone that is already dysfunctional. The great philosopher and spiritual guide, Jiddu Krishnamurti, has a great quote that goes, "It is no measure of health to be well adjusted to a profoundly sick society." So if we are measuring our normalness or our belonging or fitting in based upon the approval of people who are obviously dysfunctional, we are literally saying that health is our ability to adapt to a society that is really unhealthy and sick, mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually. And we know this. So you can even ask yourself, who am I without the need to be liked by them? Who am I if I don't belong to that group of people? And I know it's tough. We all want to belong. We all want to feel like we're included. We all want to feel like we matter and that we're part of something bigger than ourselves. But sometimes that is the test, is when you know you have permission to walk your own path. Can you choose to take that path? Can you choose the road less traveled? Even if that means that no one's going to clap for you. No one's going to applaud you. Some people might actually abandon you if you don't behave and act in accordance with their expectations. And can you choose to be loyal and honor the truth of who you are? Because love doesn't mean abandoning yourself. Love means recognizing that you don't need anybody else's approval. That even if other people don't accept you, that you won't abandon yourself. So this is really also about healing the guilt and the shame, because the guilt and the shame comes from us not living up to the expectations of others. And so if we choose not to live up to the expectations of others and we turn toward ourselves, we can make a vow and a promise and a commitment to never abandon ourselves for external validation, for love, for approval. And we can give those things to ourselves. And so this is really about embracing these divine gifts, because the truth that you carry in your heart it's medicine, not just for you, but for the world. This is exactly what the world needs right now. Think about the conflicts going on in the world. Think about some of the conflicts that are going on between people that if you took away their religion or their costumes or their traditions or their identity, their national origin, if you took those things away from them, they would look exactly the same. Think about where hatred, where violence, where it comes from. It comes from these belief systems that I am this or I am that, and you are this and you are that. But if I strip those things away and dare to stand in my divinity and say, I am a child of God, I am a part of creation, I don't need societal approval or definition or labels or boundaries to determine who I am. I am a citizen of this world. My religion is love and acceptance, to see ourselves in each other. Then the truth is that our differences become the medicine that the world needs for each individual to wake up to the truth of who they are, and not just to fall victim to the groupthink and the mentality that drives groups of people to hate each other. And so the very things that you've been judged for your whole life are your most valuable gifts, are your deepest truths. So when you start to recognize the very things that we've been hiding from others, embarrassed and ashamed of who we are, that is actually the signpost pointing towards the very divine gifts that we are called to share with others. So I want to invite you to live out loud and not to shrink into these wounds of legacy and tradition. Dare to be bold, because authenticity is healing not only for you, but for future generations. If you have or are thinking about having children, think about the ways in which you were raised that you would want to be raised differently. Think about the type of person that you needed to show up for you when you were going through difficult times, and try to become that version of yourself for others. Share what's in your heart. It's a part of your soul's assignment while on this earth. Share it with others. Invite others. Give them permission to explore their authenticity, to heal their wounds, and to become the medicine that this world needs. And so if we want to heal and drive forward, we can choose truth over tradition. We can choose peace over approval. We can choose growth over guilt and shame. And we can speak, even if our voice shakes and our hands tremble, we can speak and have faith that we are bringing divinity into existence. And it's okay to walk that path, even if you walk alone at first. And trust me, you're not alone, brothers and sisters. I am part of your tribe, and there's many of us out there. And part of our job is to find each other. So just remember, you're not here to replace the story, repeat the story, and just continue these cycles. You're here to rewrite that story. Your being is the one that sees, feels, and heals deeply. And being this unique person, being this divine spirit, this recognition of these unique gifts, you're the one who sees, feels, and heals in a deeper way. And it's not a burden. It's a sacred responsibility. It's really a beautiful gift that you've been given to step into a role that's really difficult, but has the potential to bring so much beauty and healing into the world. And remember that it's okay if they misunderstand you. Let them. Let everybody misunderstand you. Let them gossip. Let them label you. Let them make fun of you. Let them ostracize you. Because you will no longer abandon yourself. You have a higher power on your side. And you know that your gift and your purpose is to bring that authenticity into the world. And just keep walking in your truth. If you walk in your truth and don't abandon yourself, you'll have more peace in your heart, because that's your liberation to set you free. And that is your meaning and purpose in this world. And so in that way, you'll always be connected to something much deeper and much greater than yourself. And this will also allow you to develop faith in yourself. Like the bird on the branch who starts to fall asleep and take a nap. He's not scared that the branch will break, because he has faith in his own wings. So, if you're the black sheep, be proud of yourself. I know it's not easy to stand in the face of adversity and feel like an outsider in your family and feel disconnected. But if you push through and dare to embrace and love and honor the unique parts of yourself and share them with the world, I truly believe that you will find a much deeper connection with yourself and a much deeper connection with something greater than all of us as individuals. And I believe it's what we've been called here to do. If you like this message, please like, share, subscribe, and share it with someone that you think might benefit from this message. If you're curious about learning about one-on-one coaching, learning to deepen your meditation practice, or if you want to receive a custom guided meditation that is tailored specifically for you and the challenges you're facing, you can book a free discovery call at edwoodstock.com or send me a DM. And be sure to take care of yourself so we can take care of each other.